I'm gonna call this March 20th, 2024 meeting to order and a continuation on the PSD workshop. And since John deals with the PSDs more than I do, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you, John, let you.
Okay, who all do we have? I know we have Lawrence here and we have Miss Kincaid and
Melanie Hagel from Davies.
that's exactly right. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I know she's David,
I
I
remember
cannot
when you
remember her
said
name. But who would like to start?
Melanie, you ready? Okay. So if y'all remember, before y'all did give us a little bit of money on our project, and which we were very thankful for. And hopefully this October or November, we will actually start digging on that project. When this comes to our attention, one thing that we did think of that we could possibly use, one of our trucks is a 2011. And it really needs replaced. So we tried to look around and see the best economical choice for replacement. The invoice, it's not exactly the vehicle that we were looking, that one, I think, is the off-road package for that Tacoma, which we do not need. But that was what the lot had at that time that they could give us. So that is something that the PSD, because hopefully with this new project and we get all the old lines replaced, our excavator is newer than this truck. So it should last us a little longer if we get this upgraded, so we won't have as brakes and it won't work as hard. But this is something that the PSD does need, so that we don't have to pass that cost on to our customers. Because, unfortunately with the project, even though you do get some grant money in this, rate increase does come along with it. So,
And on your extension that you're running, you guys come up short 200 some thousand.
actually, our project is about 8 million. Is what we're looking at. We got $1 million worth of grant. Which is some of the same money that has to be allotted, and so that's the reason we have to start digging by December, so that we don't lose that $1 million worth of grant money. And then we do have some loan money, of course, that's so.
Have you gone through your accountant yet to see what the bill's going to end up being?
We just submitted our annual report, and the PSC just did an order and put it out yesterday that we cannot take any other. The rate increase that we go in for now, because we have that grant money, can only be for this project. So we can't take into consideration anything else that we might need, or it's gonna hold up the project, which would delay it, which would make us lose the $1 million.
Right, we don't want to do that.
No, and so
Okay.
we're trying to negotiate as well as we can so that we don't lose. I'm actually in the process of getting the easements. We're hoping to know what our rate will be by the end of next month.
So
So,
the easements are coming along very well then.
I have about 50 more that I have to acquire, and I will be finished with the easements.
Cool.
So we have a very tight schedule. And we're trying to make sure that we follow it very good so that we don't lose the grant money, because nobody wants to lose $1 million. I know I don't.
For an $8 million project, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because unfortunately, the last cost estimate did go up 400,000 because of materials.
Okay, who's your engineer on this?
E.L. Robinson.
Okay, and when your cost went up, did their engineering bill also increase?
No, it was just the material cost.
All right, so we have a pickup truck that we would like to get.
Yes.
All right, does have any questions yet? No?
No, that's great. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, Lawrence, you want to go, or Miss Kincaid said she wants to go last?
Thank you.
Okay. Lawrence is with Armstrong Creek PSD. We're gonna be talking about sanitary needs. Since the water system is being taken over by West Virginia American.
Okay. So the following have been sorted and for most important, to the least important. I think he has some copies. I don't know if everyone has copies of it. And, on that, we're talking about, this pertaining to Armstrong Public Service. We wanted to, ask the, county for funds as far as to press, to take care of our sanitary board meeting. I mean, you know, what we're gonna do there as far as that's concerned. All right, and we have a description of them, and if you'd like to have, I don't know who else would like to have a copy of it, but it says here sanitary sewer evaluation survey in the preliminary engineering report, and that's done by E.L. Robinson Engineering. And that, a guesstimate on that, they said would be around $80,000. And this is, you know, this includes performing the complete sanitary sewer evaluation survey, the entire sewer collection system of Armstrong Public Service District. And this will also include the project, the alternatives and the project cost estimates and a preliminary engineering report that will be able to be submitted to the funding agencies. The next thing we would have probably would be the Deepwater main lift station there. We need 2 pumps and a new, what to say, a pump hoist for that particular work that they want to keep and maintain and, you know, redo again. It says this item includes 2 new pumps and a hoist. And this is currently the Deepwater main lift station has only 1 rebuilt pump. And that is working at the time at the lift station. Regulations require that we have 2 operational pumps in this lift station. So in addition to the pump hoist, it is in bad condition and cannot be used safely to help bring the pumps and the maintenance when it is needed. More or less, we're saying if something happens to that pump,
You're in trouble.
we're in trouble.
Yeah, so to be determined, I guess TBD means.
Yes, to be determined, yeah. Yeah.
I had to think about that for a minute. That's why I was asking, make sure that's what it was.
I can't even understand some of the stuff they write on these phones.
When will you have a price on that?
I will,
Just,
We're working with, getting those quotes from the manufacturers.
You know,
And I don't know when they'll get them to us, but I'll make sure we try to get an estimated date by the end of this week if I
okay,
can.
yeah, because we'd like to have it before June, I believe the commission would like to have it
before June.
Yeah, because I think we're making decisions on most of this at 1st of June. I
Mhm.
think so.
What are you surveying? What would the preliminary engineering report survey be? What are you surveying?
So what we're doing is an evaluation of the sewer system. And now involved doing visual inspections of sewer lines, doing manhole inspections, smoke testing, basically trying to find any inflow and infiltration problems, which is a problem within sewer collection systems. Figure out where all the problems are in the system and generate projects off of what those problems are.
So you're studying the existing, because normally we see these with new projects, so you're studying the existing system to identify any weaknesses or problems within it.
Yeah, and then depending on what we find, we will, going back to project alternatives, we'll provide solutions on how to address these problems. And then once we talk with the district and we figure out which projects are most important, the least important, we'll have a preliminary engineering report that will be submitted to funding agencies and try to get funding for said project or projects.
Have
Sorry.
any idea, how old is that system? It's probably been around
40 years?
longer than me, right?
Yeah, older than you are, and you all, don't you? But no, to tell you the truth, it is quite old. And there's nothing what's gonna have to happen is eventually they're gonna have to build another, you know, another facility to handle all the pumping unless they bring it in from across the river over there, you know. I understand that West Virginia American Water is at this time running pipes up Route 60, but I don't know where it's gonna cross the river and whether we're gonna be involved in that. They're taking over the water. We're just trying to keep the sewer. We keep it there and keep it, more or less not a moderate cost. I know it's gonna raise a little bit, but I'm talking about a moderate cost and keeping people have to, And I was just looking in there this morning when I was in there, and you see people coming in and they didn't know, that their bills were gonna start increasing, and so, we just told them, that's all with new equipment, all with all these things that we have to provide for them to have it. So I think that it would be beneficial to us and beneficial to those people who live in that community with using using Armstrong Public Service District, but it's up to you all, and that's why I'm here. I was on my way to Huntington, and I called Mr. Brenneman and told him, hey, I'm going to Huntington. They told me you got to be at Fayetteville, and that's why I'm here, But also, we have what they call the Burrs grinder station there, and we need a pump for that grinder station there. And like I said, that's one of the main things that you'll have as far as the sewer system is concerned, is you gotta have that grinder system to grind up all that, the waste material and stuff like that. So therefore, that's very, very essential to do that. But also, this item includes one new pump, and this is currently the Burrs grinder station now only has one pump that is operational. The station was designed to have two pumps, and we were requesting a pump in the item to get the station back to the normal operations, the way it should be operated with that particular system that they're having. And then that is another thing, is another TBD, waiting to get the quotes from the manufacturers, because they up and down. I know when we had to get different pumps for the pumping stations on, as far as the water was concerned, the price just jumped up and down. So, you never know when until you have to call them. And like I said, some of these things, we look at, and each and every one of us in here can say that when we're talking about pricing, if they get a hold to you and they know you have to have it,
Oh, yeah.
that's when you'll see the prices go up. And what we try to do is do the best that we can with what we got. And when you were talking about how old is that facility, facility's older, just about as old as anyone in here, So these are some of the things that we're looking forward to talking to the commission about. One other thing I might add to there, and I know I was gonna just mainly just put this out there, and maybe you all could have a suggestion on this, is about a vehicle, if we get the public service, the thing for the sewage part of it. I would like to have some type of truck. We've been band-aiding, band-aiding all these things, and those that it costs, but like I said, I'm not requesting a brand new truck. If you all have some way, or we could find a vehicle for these people to work out of as far as the sanitary department is going to be, then that would be something that I would ask that you take into consideration there. And there's other tools that we need, but what happened, and like I was telling Mr. Brenneman here, that when I called him on the phone, I was on the way to the doctor's office in an appointment, and that's why I could not get everything, lined up, but, I've been back and forth, but, I just want, like I said, these are the main things. There's other things that we could use, but like I said, if we can get these and get some consideration on that vehicle. I wouldn't want to buy a brand new vehicle, but if the funds are there for us to have one and we get that grant as far as a vehicle is concerned, I wanted something that we can, it won't be one of these that you drive it and it breaks down and then you gotta go back and get it and get somebody else to pull it in or whatever like that. That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
And I really thank you all for hearing.
Thanks for coming.
Also, Lawrence,
Yes, sir.
PSC ordered you guys to fix the Rollins property. And that's a $75,000 repair.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if ARPA funds can cover that or not,
Mhm.
but that should also be on your radar too.
Okay. Can I say this, and I'm not making a case or anything like that, and I'm glad that Cody is here with me. We were just out. That was when they had all of the flooding in there, but Cody, we were out and we were just riding around, and he was showing me about what you're gonna have to go up that mountain to get to that tank and all this, and we were talking about it, and we come out there and we were seeing which way the water went. Well, we walked up there and just watched, and we're looking, the water, Mr. Brennan, it was one of these things when the water comes down, and it digs into the bank, and there was a big boulder there from that door, I say, to this that was in against the mountain, and the water hit that and bounced across and washed out. That we didn't have anything to do with. We had not done anything there, but yet still, he's just one of the senior citizens, and they come to me and they say, well, what can we do? I said, I don't know. We'll see what we can do. That was the only conversation we had with him. And the next thing I know, we get sued for it, and he can tell you, he was there. He even took pictures of it. And that was what happened. But, we can't control what God does, as far as the storms and all these things that we're saying, I'm saying. But that was the reason that 75,000 come up, and I just can't understand how we could be sued for it. But that's, I understand what you're saying. We had, and
Is it a right of way? I'm just curious.
it's a creek.
It's a creek. And it washed away their bank. And there was some other folks that didn't understand how they could be held responsible, but the PSC found them responsible and they have to do the repairs on.
That's, like I said, I can't understand it, but who am I? But I've not had any contact with them since then, nor have they even bothered to talk to me about it since then, but we, like I said, we would welcome any advice that you all give us as far as that's concerned, but I just don't think that we should be liable for something like that, but like I said, who are we,
Was it a ruling?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then I didn't.
I didn't even know we had that particular, I didn't know we had that particular suit there until it was, the time, time element. They send things to you right for the next day or something like this, and so I don't know about that as far as that's concerned. I'm glad you brought it back to my attention there, because that was one of the things I was going to mention to just talking to you, and see what we had. Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks,
you.
Lawrence.
Go.
Yes, sir.
I'm going home.
Take care.
All right. Enjoy being chauffeured around for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, you know what, since all this has happened, I had surgery and all that stuff on my back, and it's hard for me to stand, you see me leaning on your podium.
And, so my wife is driving me right now.
Or she loves that.
She's a whole lot prettier than me. Thank you
Y'all
all.
take care.
See you later.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Cody.
Last of the Mohegans.
Come on down.
Oh, you can.
This is my bullets. You ready?
I'm ready. I don't know about the other.
I'm here today as a resident, and I also was appointed to the New Haven Public Service District back in July of 2023. I have been a resident of Fayette County now for over 33 years. I have pursued the right to access public water for numerous decades. During this time, I have taken many steps to include signing and initiating multiple petitions, speaking to and coordinating with fellow residents, attending meetings, and making consistent contact with the Public Service Commission, New Haven Public Service District, as well as government officials at the local, state, and federal level. Thanks to Manchin, Capitell, and Miller, in January of 2023, the Gwen Road received a federal earmark of $1 million from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for a water line extension. In March of 2023, the Office of the Governor matched the funding with $200,000 for the important project in Fayette County. And I have to mention that, that was for the Gwen Road. And I'm here today to request the additional funding needed for the Gwen Road water line extension. I've attached the supporting documents, and you'll have on there the letter from the governor's office to Kenny Hayes. And I don't think he's replied back or gave a progress update on the Gwen Road. But I do know that on all the years I've lived there, not once have I ever been approached to sign a user agreement. I don't understand how that, comes in play there, or how they are determining the water project. And I am troubled by that. I know that Big Deep, Eddie George was present at the last meeting, and he gave us an idea of Big Deep funding a startup for the Gwen Road. But I think that was shot down. I'm not sure, I can't say that for certain, but I was told that the White Road, which is Richmond Chapel Road, and Lucas Road needed the help that Big Deep could provide more than the Gwen Road. That's why I'm here today.
We're gonna invite New Haven PSD back to talk to us about these specific projects, including 18 and 19, because there've just been so many
Well,
issues.
The funding, I started going to the board meetings in 2019. And it's been the same. It's just lip service. I hate to be that blunt, but that's all it is. And it's continuing until, and it's never changed. Nothing, they was ready to break ground in 2019. They had the funding available. I don't know what's going on, but I think someone ought to look into it.
There was apparently a big meeting about it just yesterday. And Leslie Taylor from Region 4 was involved in it. And I had asked her some questions about it, and she said, she told me about the big meeting, and she said she was determined to sit in on it till these matters were resolved, but there've just been more hiccups. Like the engineer came back with, Commissioner Brenneman had noted when Kenny came in last week. Came back with almost double the engineering costs, like all of a sudden for these projects.
Mhm.
And so what we're trying to do is get to the bottom of it and figure out what's going on. So we're gonna put them on the agenda. We've got, another PSD that we're trying to help, that where Canal Falls had all that damage from the flood. So we're trying to get that sorted out, because they're having issues with FEMA getting reimbursed. But these, we're seeing what you're seeing, I guess what I'm trying to tell you.
And I'm asking for the funding to go specifically on the Gwen Road, because it always gets put somewhere else. It gets redirected. That's what I'm doing research, and I'm not certain that That's what I'm finding in some places, that things have gotten directed in other areas.
This isn't the one that has a lawsuit on it, is it?
No.
This is, okay. There's so many of them, I try,
So
This,
what is the remaining, what is the balance of, because I'm trying to figure out.
is it 3,322,000?
That was the estimate that was provided through Thompson and Litton. That, of course, they say that there could be an inflation cost for it, and you know, that's what they're trying to do.
that was in 2022. Yes, there has been an increase. So we don't know the exact increase. Because actually, right now, they have project 18, then project 19, then Gwen Road listed as how they're going to be doing it.
Well,
But that's liable to change.
oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what I don't understand is, I read where, you know, we're always being, you know, put off. And that is an issue with me because, you know, I'm a widow. I have a son who works every day, has to haul his water. And the other area, the people that live on that road, I mean, it's in this area in general, and it shouldn't be that way for 30-some years. And to be honest, I should be on the Project 19 because I live on Route 3, Ramsey, but it's our road that's overlooked. And that's when I contacted the senators and, you know, let them, you know, try to ask for help. And you just get tired. But, and now they're trying to, I don't know what they're up to. I shouldn't say that, but because I'm on the board. But I have a lot of questions.
Do you know any more, John?
No, I don't.
But I do know that, what I read in a news article back in 2013, the Harbor Road and Miller Ridge Road and all those, there's several roads that were put on hold due to funding. And then they pushed a project in for Flanagan Mountain, Spy Rock, and Edmond Road. And that was a total of 14 houses in 3 different areas. Mhm. That I question. I mean, who am I? But, you know,
Well, I would question it too. Simple
Yeah,
math.
because you got 16.
that's 16 that that it was my understanding that the 16 houses would come from where the water line is. I mean, the main water line is right 1.25 miles from my house. But it'll go past my house up to the top of the hill, and then they was gonna come in on the other side for the rest of the.
Leslie Taylor's on the phone. She
Yeah.
said she can speak
Yeah.
to some of this, so.
Oh, sorry, John. Sorry.
Leslie,
Good afternoon again.
Yeah, can you clarify some things for us, Leslie?
I can sure give it a try.
Okay.
I'll start with, in 2019, the contracts 18 and 19 were about to go to bid. But what happened with those is, the Public Service Commission approved the required certificate of convenience and necessity, and then they rescinded it because of an operations and maintenance agreement. You all may be aware that New Haven PSD does have an operation and maintenance agreement with West Virginia American Water for that system. So the PSC has to approve that operations and maintenance agreement. The PSC did not approve it and sent everybody back to the board, the drawing board that is, to review that operations and maintenance agreement. And we just received the signed O&M agreement for contract 19 last week, and contract 18 we received today.
Okay, she said Gwen Road was separate. Is it separate?
It is a separate project.
Okay.
Related to Flanagan Mountain and those areas. Those areas were one of the last AML or abandoned mine land projects that were eligible in Fayette County. And that was 100% grant funded because that area did qualify for AML funding. So that's why it looks like that area got put in front of others. But that funding was available because of the abandoned mine land status. And that area was affected by pre-law or pre-1977 mining. So therefore, it does appear that that project went ahead of it. But in essence, funds weren't taken from another project to do the Flanagan Mountain Spy Rock project.
Do these other projects not qualify for AML money? Because Matt Ford was in here this morning and it sounded to me like you didn't even have to be that close to abandoned mine land to qualify.
You'd have to be applied for. Probably.
All of these areas did apply for funding way back, 2010, 2011-ish. And the ones that could be accomplished with AML funding were completed when Spy Rock was completed.
But maybe the rules have changed since then, because I mean, we were under similar impressions until he's been applying for and receiving grants on behalf of other counties for different types of projects. But I mean, isn't that the impression you guys got, and Amy, from what he was saying?
Yes,
I mean, it sounds like maybe we need to start applying for AML funding for some of these other projects based on their approval rate now and the types of things they're approving now.
We can look, DEP has a map on their site that'll tell you where abandoned mine lands are.
We
They
are,
do have to be affected by pre-1977 law. That's where we actually start now before we ever submit an application. So we can always look at that map and determine from that if it qualifies, and if it looks like it's iffy, we can always contact DEP and ask them for a ruling.
well, what about Gwen Road? Is I mean, she said there's 3 separate ones. What about the one for Gwen Road itself?
So this project did receive $1 million congressionally directed spending through the EPA STAG subcommittee. It also received its non-federal match share through the state of West Virginia. But at this point, that is all the funding that the project has received.
So it's not any grant funding on it at all?
That's all grant funding. It was $1 million congressionally directed spending through the EPA STAG program,
Okay.
and a $200,000 grant through the state of West Virginia for the non-federal match share.
So it needs still $2.1 million. So around about, I'm just looking for what. If it's
I'm
three-
looking for the
it's-
last cost estimate that we have for that project is April 2022, and the cost at that point looks like to be about $3.32 million.
okay,
And I
so,
can tell you that with these projects, with this cost estimate being 2 years old, that project cost has certainly increased.
yeah. Leslie, what about, I'm just asking a wild question here. Sometimes I get wild questions in my little mind. What about, is there any bonds that could be put out for certain water projects?
That would be more of a question for someone like John Stump at Steptoe and Johnson, because Region 4 does not do anything with bonds. But that's a good question for John Stump. He's very knowledgeable in that.
I'm just curious, Ruth, can we get him in here for, I mean, if the commission doesn't mind to.
We do it when we have New Haven in here about those
Okay.
projects.
Because I've always heard bonds, and I want to learn more about bonds and how it can be utilized for maybe water. So if we can ask him to come in when New Haven's here.
Maybe do that on the 24th because we've got so much set for the 16th. We can do the canal falls.
24th, and by that time, I'll have more information on the AML grants. Because I'm going to talk to somebody about that. I think the LRA meetings 27th or 28th. And we already have a map of the AML on the.
I guess,
Just a quick question, I'm learning. The abandoned mines, are those only the public ones or are those the private ones too?
What's that? The mines?
Mines.
I'd say it's any of the AML.
Because
Any
they
of the
don't
mines.
count us on it, we have a private mine.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
and she said before 1977 too, right?
You know, Leslie,
It's been there since 1823.
Well, it's been there since 1823. There would have to be something before, 77, 23, 1823, yeah, so there should be something there. I'll find out. Because
Something that's really important to note about AML too, if a mine was in operation in the 1950s and it closed down and was closed down for 20 years, 30 years. If it started back up after 1977, that clock resets itself. It's no longer considered pre-1977 mining.
Wow,
That's right. I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
man, that.
Get Jamie to give you a map of the AM.
I've got them. I've got, we already have it on our mapping. On the LRA dilapidated property map, it's already on there.
Okay.
I'll look.
So
What about the user agreements? I mean, does that make you wonder why we've never been approached or in all the years I've
That you
lived here?
signed the user
No,
agreements?
no, I've never, only thing I've ever signed that was in like 1992 was a petition to get water. But I was told when I was calling around trying to get water, trying to get help. I was told the reason I didn't get on the water project was because the house before me said they didn't want water.
I know there is something that they go around and ask, and Leslie can probably verify this. They usually do go around and ask the people living on the road,
Mhm.
and there's gotta be a record somewhere,
That's
one way or the other,
correct,
that says who denied it and who wanted it.
right.
There's gotta be a record somewhere. Leslie?
Would you cut out there for just a second or my audio?
I'm
cut
sorry,
out?
I'm
You
leaning
can't
back.
tell- That's
Lean-
okay.
I'm leaning back, relaxing. I've been here since 7:30 this morning. Talk about user agreements. You know how they usually go in and they ask who wants water and who doesn't want water. And if it used to be, I think, and John should know more about this than I do, a certain percentage that agrees to have water, they'll extend it. Certain percentage that doesn't agree, they won't extend it. There should be some type of record of who agreed to have water and not have water, correct?
Right, when the PSDs start working on a project, an extension project that goes to unserved areas, usually representatives of the PSD will go out and obtain user agreements because you have to have at least 80% of customers in a project area that want water before the Public Service Commission will let that project go forward.
Is there any way we can get a copy of the Gwynn Road information?
Region 4 would not have that information. That information would be maintained in the PSD's files.
So the commission could ask for that, ask the PSC for that information.
Ask the PSD, the
PSD?
Public Service District,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
The Public Service District, when they are planning a project, an extension to unserved areas, they'll go out and collect user agreements.
well, I'd like-
Because the Public Service Commission requires that 80% sign up in a project area.
So okay, and that's why I said the PSC. So the PSC would have that also, correct?
No, they would not. They would not have that information
Just the
until a
PSD.
certificate of convenience and necessity is filed for the project.
Well, okay, I'm just wondering how they would verify that it was 80% or not.
if they haven't
Exactly.
completed these agreements, what are the implications? I mean, we've been briefed on the Gwen Road extension. Does that mean it's already been approved or that the
No.
necessary?
A certificate of convenience and necessity has not been filed for this project because right now we have a cost estimate and a partially funded project. We currently only have $1.2 million in congressionally directed spending and state non-federal match towards the project. And you can't submit a project for a certificate of convenience and necessity if you don't have a fully funded project.
That seems backwards.
That is backwards. No, that's backwards. I'm not, I know you know what you're talking about, but that just doesn't seem right. Why would you want to go for, to me, why would you want to spend the money and
Trying to get the money if you
resources
don't have
and
to.
resources if you don't have willing customers that want water? I mean,
That's why you go out and get your user agreements typically before you start a project. So you know how many prospective new customers are in an area. If you go out and survey that area with your user agreements and there are 10 families there and 6 of them want the water, you know you don't have a viable project.
But that sounds like the opposite of what you just said. It sounds to me like they should have gone out and gotten the user agreements to support
pursuing funding for Gwen Road. For pursuing funding for Gwen Road.
When the congressionally directed spending applications opened, this one was submitted actually 2 years ago. We did not have any user agreements at that time. The PSD chairman, Mr. Hayes, came to us and said, this opportunity is available. We've asked our engineers to prepare a preliminary cost estimate. Can we go ahead and submit this project for funding to see if it will stick? We also submitted White Road, which is also Richmond Chapel Road, and Lucas Road. All three of those were submitted at the
I tell you
same time.
what,
We weren't submitting to the Public Service Commission at that point.
can the commission do something and ask the customers if they want water or not for record?
I'm sure the PSD can supply a user agreement that can be signed by, the necessary users.
Well, I have a petition where,
Well, I think it should need to be some type of agreement instead of a petition, to be honest with you.
to be honest, I never knew one of those existed until.
I'm just trying to, I never knew they had to do it after the funding is available. I think it's.
Weird.
And
think
it's
it kinda-
my understanding.
So I think what we ought to do as commissioners.
I think there's a little confusion here. I think we're getting our steps out of order. So I'm gonna try to go through these really quick. So, PSD comes up with an extension project.
Oh, shoot.
They survey their area to determine how many potential customers are in there.
Okay, believe it or not,
They,
you cut out on us.
so they survey that area to determine how many potential customers. Sometimes this is a foot survey. Sometimes it is, if let's say the chairman knows the area and knows how many residents are in there. So then at that point, a representative of the PSD then goes out and contacts all the customers in the area and asks them to sign user agreements. If you get 80% of your user agreements, then you most likely have a viable project and can go forth with requesting funding and starting your design and other. If you don't get those 80%, then you likely don't have a viable project. You don't go to the Public Service Commission until you have your project funding in place. And at that point, you do have to prove, one, that you have your project funding in place, and two, that 80% of the customers in the project area do want that service.
Okay, so on this Gwen Road, do you think they've got the contract, that they've contacted the people?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that, Commissioner.
Okay,
Leslie, is there a specified water agreement that needs to be signed?
There's not a specific one. There's different funding agencies will require different. Well, USDA is the only funding agency that's real particular about their user agreements. But of course, because of the public-private partnership with American Water, USDA is not a possibility in this. We've provided user agreement template to the PSD in the past and would be glad to do so again if they don't have access to one.
I think we ought to ask them if they got any user agreements.
Yeah.
And then if they don't, I think we ought to implement something to request even not only Gwen Road, but anywhere else that wants water in certain areas to sign some type of.
Well, it's my understanding, I don't want to interrupt, but I want to tell you before I forget, that Ramsey, the people that I spoke with, they've not signed a user agreement, but they're on the Project 19. I mean, it don't seem right, does it? It's just,
No, I mean, I think we'll request the stuff from Gwen Road to start with and see what happens from there. It's okay with you all. You're the lawyer, Miss Taylor. I'm just.
Well, no, I definitely want to get to the bottom of it. I mean, I already, based on emails have been going back and forth about those other two projects, I wanted to hear from them. And I had asked them this morning if we could set up a meeting about that, and Commissioner Brenneman's been sending us emails about PSC findings and stuff that are confusing us, because we thought things were running smoothly, and then we found out they weren't. So I think the only thing we can do is get them in here. Well, the first thing to do is to get them in here and request answers to this, and
Okay.
we can even ask them to bring you
Well, that's what I was gonna
agreements
say.
with them.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. If we just ask them in here, they won't. We'll have to ask them for it there, then it may be another month before we get it. I'd like to ask you for, this is what we want when you come in. If you don't have it, tell us you don't have it.
I'd like to see a project 1819 in Glen.
Let's send them a letter and
Um,
tell them everything that we want them to present at that meeting.
and Leslie, can
Yes.
you forward a copy of a user agreement to the three of us, please, so that we have one to go over it, so we know what we're looking at?
Yes.
Thank
And I
you.
will say that the two current projects, the contract 18 and the contract 19 project, when these projects are complete, they're 3,400 gallon usage, which is West Virginia American's rate plus the surcharges for both projects. The customer's bill for 3,400 gallon usage will be 95.56, or roughly 2.6% of the area's median household income.
So.
It's water. That
basically-
lady says it's water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No water.
It just sounds like that partnership is hurting the expansion because the PSD is not eligible for grants because of that partnership.
That's.
The PSD is eligible for grants. They're not eligible for USDA funding.
But isn't USDA one of the big funders of these sorts of projects?
Yes.
Yes. But the PSD is still eligible for drinking water treatment revolving fund money. We are using both principal forgiveness, or what we would call grant, and loan dollars with a very low interest rate. We are using IJDC, or Infrastructure and Jobs Development Council. We were able to get $1 million grant there, which is the maximum allowable. We also have the West Virginia American Water contribution to the project. Contract 19 has some Army Corps of Engineers Section 340 grant money in it as well. And both projects have secured $1 million grant each from the Economic Enhancement Grant Fund through the West Virginia Water Development Authority. Due to the recent cost estimate updates, I will say contract 19 went from $7 million to $10.3 million. Contract 18 went from $4.8 million to just over $7 million. That resulted in some scrambling as of late, because we were told that we likely would not get that extra money from the Economic Enhancement Grant Fund. So we had to pivot. This was the issues that you and I texted about yesterday, Commissioner Taylor. We had to pivot and try to figure out other ways to fund this with it not being an exorbitant surcharge for each project on each customer. The funding has been resubmitted, and now we are waiting for the funding agency's determination on our request. I think both of them had very good packages when they went in this time, considering the nearly $6 million increase in costs. But that's just my opinion and not the funding agency's opinion.
Well, it sounds like we need to send a letter to them.
Yep.
Make a list of the stuff they need to bring and the questions they need to be prepared to answer. That's what we need to do.
Yep.
I'll start making a list of that. I'm gonna move that we send such a letter and we'll get it drafted and circulated in the
Second.
meantime.
On favor?
Aye.
We're gonna try, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
come on, put in closing if you want, like. Due to the critical need of water in this area, it is my strong belief that the Fayette County Commission, duly having the authority and position, act so that a clean water source can be provided to the residents living on the Glen Road without any further delay. It's been 30-some years And like I said, I should have been on, Project 19, and they should have been on Project 19. But somehow they just seem to just go around us. And I'm speaking the truth.
We're gonna work on it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Yes. Thanks for coming.
I'll be back.
Okay.
I'm not going to give up.
All right.
I'm not gonna fall.
We're gonna set it for the 24th
Okay, 24th.
April. I don't know what time yet.
Okay,
Make sure you're here
I'll
next
be
week.
here.
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
can get on our email list if you want to leave your email address.
I think it's on this.
Okay, well, I'll make sure you get on our email list for the agenda.
And it's April, not,
April 24th.
yes.
Thank you.
We've had several weeks of meetings straight, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to say?
Oh, I can just add, I mean, my husband was the one that talked last time, Dr. Senior. Without him being here, he's former military, and when we first started, coming down here, this Payland Mountain. And starting down here, was told that the funds for Glen Road was, we've been told a lot of stuff, just told. That it was froze due to desert, the funds were going to Desert Storm. They got reappropriated somehow to Desert Storm. My husband is now been in the military 27 years, retired, active duty, and now been retired 7 years. And now it's the elevation. Well, we've got water at the end of the road at the same elevation. There's always been something, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know, like, water, how it works with elected or they, I'm just appointed. I mean, there's some help that needs to be important as well. No offense, but and that's not you. She just came on, but the board needs some help.
So there's water on your road.
At the very
Less
end
than
of
a
the
mile
road,
from our house.
right at the corner.
May I, the moving on?
A mile
And the next-
marker would be between our house and Diane's.
So why I know there was a lot of asking about the user agreement is because, well, the first person that was on the road, if that person was asked, did they want water? No, it was some old man, he since passed. How long?
Several years ago.
Many years. So did it stop because of that, or, and now finding it's supposed to be.
Timmy,
And nobody can find, and, I mean, other than, when they said, oh, we all came and did user agreements and they did that. Nobody,
And they said they couldn't find them.
nobody could find
They
it.
were gonna regenerate them.
And nobody's gonna talk to.
Yeah.
Okay, I will tell you this, there's another road that's right outside of Oak Hill and Fayetteville, actually right between the two. They are about 8/10 of a mile off the main drag where the main water line's at. West Virginia American Water was going to charge them $189,000 to bring water out that far. And there's 14 houses out there. I tried my darndest to get them get the PSC to move them to get it done. They will not do it.
When we first started, well, and I first started running the water board, and it affects me because we have, we have a special needs kid. He's not gonna see water. It's not gonna happen. When we started going, we were told that we were already on, which one? 18 or 19? I don't even remember which one.
We've been told
we were on it.
we've been
And now you're
told so many different boards, and now we're on 20. But they're not sure. And
It's such a cluster. It's really frustrating.
there's a lot of fat in the matter, we need more meat in this matter, like you were saying, all the powers that be get together so that we're getting some straight, honest conversation or some knowledgeable.
I mean, we've even asked for alternatives at the one point.
We have a little pump to be on our property.
We've got already a school bus term and it already gravelled for, the school bus has been around. We've got a perfect spot for even a pump because we are all down in Piggly Wiggly and
300,000 miles on our truck and we're retired. And we're not gonna be able to afford a truck.
How many houses don't have water out that road?
Everybody, I don't know how many, Diane, you know. how
Well,
many-
there's the $1 million was appropriated at 16 homes. I'm assuming that'll be the start at, they call it the Beaver Hill. That's where Chris Moore lives. And then they said they was gonna bring it in from the other end.
Because
Where
they
the
want
other houses, it's like 23 homes. But I'm gonna just go ahead and spill beans while I'm here. I'm troubled because on Project 19, they added Whispering Pines. There's 4 to 6 homes on Whispering Pines, which is a mile in distance, and I drove it, and it's pretty rough. They couldn't get approved for the critical needs grant. Where is the money coming from to supply them for something that they held Ramsey to, saying that the cost per customer was too high? It's at the West Virginia, it's on the page, but you can go and you can look at it. Where they say the reason Ramsey didn't get water was because cost per customer was too high. And then the user agreements that blah, blah, blah. But the same things that they used to deny Ramsey, they're wanting to doing it for Whistling Pines. That I do have a problem with. I really do. And I wonder because I look on there and I see the original contract 18, which was Miller Ridge, Palmer, Ramsey, Dotson Ridge was terminated. But then it comes back out, a new contract 18, which is, I think it's 2018, and it's either 60, I think it's 61, I'm not sure what the first one, 2 numbers are. But it's after, it's got different places on there. Of, that puts the confluence, the Sunday Road, Elliott cut off in front of the people from Ramsey. That I question. I would love to see why they did that. Does that make sense?
I'm hoping you're gonna come to the meeting on the 24th.
I'll drive her if I have to do that.
Okay,
Well, and when I ask questions, I can never actually get an answer.
Well, we should get answers.
we should be able to get answers, and we appoint the board members. So if there are specific board members that you have concerns about,
How you got on there?
yeah, we appoint the board members. And, that's something, you know, that we may have to consider. I mean, you know, this is a first, it's not the first we've heard of the problems you're having with all this, you know, but it is the first that
Every time we turn around,
that
it
has
says
made me
text,
think
or- yeah.
it's the board and not the process. The board is part of the problem and not,
Honestly, what I see is they're not doing anything. I mean, it's just like, we go to the board meeting and it's just,
Well, Kenny said,
It's
it's
just
just
slow
sound
motion.
like he hasn't done anything for 30 years after my son-in-law spoke. And I said, well, listen, that is just that we need to be more clear, you know, on what's going on. Instead of us walking away and saying, well, do you know? No, I don't know what he meant. Or where he was going with that, but it changed, and then by the next meeting, it was almost forgotten, except for us that we're still trying to.
and they'd say if you
Figure it
don't
out.
participate and go to these meetings, well, I have news. You know, I've had to work, my husband worked, we have to provide for our families, we've contributed all these years. But yet, it's always, we're forgotten out there, you know, and you get tired of it. You know what I mean? And you ought to come out where we live, I mean, it's farm area, but everyone out my road, out the road where I live has worked and contributed. And you know, and you think, why can't they give us water?
Allison, on your list, write down water maps for that area, showing all the roads that are covered, and proposed 18, 19 and Gwynn Road, please.
Thank you. See, when they came out and renamed the roads, my road was called the Old Saturday Road, which was the main road. And it's Route 3. Actually, the road goes right in front of my house, Route 3, that's Ramsey. Now it's called the Old Gwynn Road. I mean, I guess with the 911 system, I'm not really sure why it's changed, but like I said, we should have water. We should have had water years ago. But it's always just been some big story or some.
and I'm troubled since it's a public organization that that there's not more transparency than there is, that you guys are so poorly informed of the decisions or the reasoning behind the decisions. And I mean, do you not get anything, I mean, I guess you wouldn't as non-customers, but when the board meets, they should have minutes that are publicly available.
I have been doing minutes,
She's on the
We're
board.
getting them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's on the board now.
July 23, I started on the board, I've been doing minutes.
Yep.
Yep.
I have the audio for each meeting,
Okay.
so.
All right, well, we're gonna take that next step and see what we can find out for you.
I appreciate your help.
Try to see what we can do.
Yep, try to see what you're gonna see on the 24th.
I'll be here. Lord willing, I'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Y'all ladies have a good day, good evening.
Motion to adjourn.
How are you?